Recording in progress.
Hi, everyone. This is Barbara Sanders, and this is Donia Smith, who is my guest today. And she just provided us with those beautiful tuning forks and sounds. And we've had a little technological difficulties and my brain difficulties. So this is kind of funny how we're starting out. But anyway, we're here and we're going to hear from Donia in just a minute. I want to say some things about her, and this is Sacred Metamorphoses, my YouTube channel. It's February 18th, 1920. This is hilarious. Y'all can evaluate my brain a little later, but it's February 18th, 2026, and I'm just being silly now. Um, I met Donia at St. George Island when I was on a retreat with Tammy Roth a few years ago. I'm not sure how many. And I have to tell you, when I saw Donia walk in, we were already there, and she is beautiful as you see, but she also had this wild, big gray and dark hair. And I looked at her and watched her, and I thought, God, she's amazing. And so I was immediately attracted to you, Donia, and um, I'm so glad to have gotten to know you a little bit, and I'm going to get to know you better now. So then I saw her at some more retreats at St. George Island and then at Alligator Point when she came in with her singing bowls and her stories and voice gifts. And she can tell you more about her services. But she also did massage with some of us that day, and it was one of the best massages I've ever had. Um, Thank you, Donia. It's just beautiful and inspiring. She also has been doing lots of different services throughout time, and I'm going to let her tell you about those because we want to be sure that anybody listening to this can use her services online or in person if you'd like. And so I'm going to turn it over to Donia now, and I'll try to stop laughing and be a little bit less silly for a minute. Welcome, Donia.
Hey, Barbara. Thanks for having me. And it's good to lighten up and laugh some, isn't it? Yeah. So, anyway, my name's Donia Bullock Smith, and I am a native pioneering Floridian from both sides of my family, 8 generations. So, there is some ancestral work to be done on both sides, and I've taken it under my wings to do some of that. I grew up on a turpentine farm in the 1970s in southern Tallahassee in a town called Woodville on Natural Bridge Road, and it was steeped in southern Gothic culture. And so I've had to unlearn that part of growing up and knowing that there was maybe some traumas that I've had to address from a young age. And so I started on my underworld journey from a young girl, not realizing that the core of the trauma started as a young girl, and I had tucked it behind me in my brain. And after some EMDR therapy when I was 50 years old, it all came to light, and I realized, well, there's reasons why I was a black sheep, And I'd found my calling after a spiritual awakening in 2015. I had gotten scratched by my cat. I was going through some major life-changing events, not like I hadn't been in the last 25 years, but my kundalini opened. I almost died from a cat scratch fever, and my pineal gland woke up. I woke up, and everything was different. The colors from seeing through my eyes, from all my senses were peaked. I could hear things. And in 2015, it's not like it is now. There was not a lot of information out about waking up. And so I had to do some deciphering and finding people that luckily, and I'm blessed that they were placed in my path as helpers and guides through this. So in 2015, I'd been a stay-at-home mom for 25 years in North Carolina on a farm. I was a beekeeper. I canned 100 quarts of all kinds of vegetables and put them in a root cellar every year. I grew my own gardens. The kids were up underneath beautiful cosmic skies, fresh air, in small town living. And after 25 years, knowing that I had been in an abusive relationship all those years and was trying to heal somebody else, a man mainly, and really what I was needing was to heal myself. And so through different actions, we've gotten a divorce, and I came back home to Florida, which was not something that I wanted to do at all. So I did it with my 2 children, and we came down and we started another life. That being said, I had to get a bank teller job, minimum wage, and I had, in 2010, I had not had a cell phone. I didn't know how to use a computer. My kids did, but I didn't, because I was grounding. I had my Birkenstocks and my overalls, and I was out with my hands in the dirt. So that part of my life I'm grateful for, because it made me realize who, as a soul, I was, how connected I was to the mother. Right? And so I was very, very involved in the church, in the Episcopal Church. I've got priests in my family. And so I was involved with that, as my kids were. Now later on, as I started awakening, I realized some things that made me realize that I could be that. I could be spiritual and not religious. And so that, from that foundation, that's what I've built upon with my practice. To help, not to help people pull them away from religion. That's not what I'm speaking about. What I am speaking about is going within in order to know who you are from a soul being level. That you can make the decisions on your own without being a bypassing type of thing. So in order to raise your frequency, I started the Luminary in Apalachicola as a physical house. Now it's not. It is now an online platform. But to be able to offer tools to people who have questions, who are seeing different things going on, whether it's within their dream time, whether they're seeing colors, whether their anxiety through this world, in this physical, dense consciousness, is shifting so quickly that they don't understand what's going on around them. To be able to come into their own soul being and remember who they are at a soul level, because I feel like we're in Earth School. We're in Earth School. And so as a massage therapist, I'm Body Sound Spirit is the name of my business. But I'm also under the banner of the Luminary. So I'm in transition. I'm in Wasissa. We have this beautiful home now on 6.5 acres with deer and turkey and fox and you name it, right down from a spring. And so I just want to talk a little bit about sound healing. I'm a sound alchemist. I work with planetary frequencies. I work with solfeggio frequencies, chakra bowls, the works. I also tone, and I also work with light language or sacred language through the voice. And I'd like to touch on that a little bit too in just a moment. But my offerings that I offer are, of course, massage therapy. I use frequency as biosonic weighted tuning forks to help with opening up channels, energy channels, muscle attachments. It's just a nice way to involve frequency within a physical massage, along with my music that I record and use in the sessions. I'm a Reiki master. I work with Reiki a lot, and Tammy Roth was my master and Reiki 2 attunement teacher, and shamanic services. Gazelia Davis is my shamanic teacher, guide. She's from Siberia, has Siberian lineage. So, with the sound alchemy that I do, I found out through my awakening, when I awoke, I started having a high frequency pitch in my head. I got attuned in Reiki 1 at the same time that I had the Bartonella, which was the cat scratch infection in my body, not knowing that I had it. Now, the doctor thought it was cancer, and I was waiting on an MRI. And so when I got attuned, a seashell started happening within my ears, within my head, and I'm like, it was driving me crazy. I had just started my business in Tallahassee at the time, and I couldn't function, and I didn't realize that it was because I needed to tune like a radio to clear the passage of the energy frequency going from my brain to the cosmic realm. And so I went to a practitioner who did some biosonic tuning, and it took most of it away. And so when it did, I realized, oh my gosh, there's something to this. There's something to this frequency stuff. And so I started delving into my CEUs for my Florida massage therapy license, because in the state of Florida now, you're in order to do any type of energy or sound healing, it's required for you to have a massage therapy license in the state of Florida. It's not like that in a lot of states, but it is in Florida now. So I use my CEUs to do sound alchemy education and solfeggio education and things of that nature. But with the shamanic energy work, I combine my frequency music in with that too. I'm working on power animals. I help folks find their power animals in my Spirit Weaver sessions. There's Zoom sessions hourly. I work with lunar phases. Guided meditations tailored to your frequency. Look at your chart and see the friction planets that you have, and then we work with that friction with the sound alchemy and guided meditation. Sacred sound analysis is something that I offer. Ani Williams from France is my educator with that. She's worked with these frequencies for years and years and years. And I'll look at your chart, see the friction in the planets, then realize that, so what's happening is, let me start back a little bit. When we're born into this world, the planets that are in exact alignment when we're born, each of us, are singing a certain frequency. That song, the song of the planets, it is put into us. And so we have our own individual sound prints, just as we have fingerprints. And we're unique. We're unique souls.
I would just like to interrupt for a second, and that really excites me, Donia, because I didn't know you were doing that. And so after this, we will book a session because that sounds really interesting to me about the sound print. I've done a lot of astrological stuff with Tammy and other people. And so this is really exciting to me, and I appreciate your going into it. And so as you're talking, thank you for bringing in what you would do if someone contacted you and wanted to use your services, because you've got so many multivaried skills and services. I have not used Danya for an individual session with all of what she's talking about now. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a bucket of tools. They just come out, and whatever resonates with me and whatever has helped me. I use whatever has helped me. So with the sacred sound analysis, it's very interesting because what I do is I look at your chart, and it's not an in-depth reading. This is just a friction, because with our chakras, with our chakra energy body, each chakra has a note attached to it, right? We're made up of energy. We look like we're physical beings, but we're not. We're vibrating at such a high level of frequency that we look like we're solid, right? And so what I do is I analyze your voice over Zoom. It can be in person or over a Zoom session. And so when I analyze your voice, then I will go back and I will look, and I will see the different notes and what you were speaking in that session, and then find the notes that aren't in your field that you've become out of tune with. And a lot of that is due to little traumas. They don't have to be big traumas. And so I have recorded different notes within crystal bowls, to where I can send the note to you, and you can tone to that frequency every morning to be able to pull that frequency note back into your field to where you can feel more whole, to get your song back. And when you get your song back, that's when things start really downloading to you, when you through the cosmic realm. I have to tell you, this is interesting too. I speak sacred light language. I never did. 3 years ago, it happened to me, and it was in a Reiki session, and it was Reiki practitioners getting together. Some of us didn't even know one another, and I was on the table, and there was a Reiki practitioner at my crown, and at just about the end, she spoke this language at my crown and said, "Welcome home, sister." I thought, that's sweet, but I didn't think much about it until the next day when I went to talk, and I spoke a different language. And my husband, George, said, "What the hell is that?" Because I'm from Alabama, and that's Pentecostal stuff, like snake handling stuff. And so I had to step back and go, what is this? And how is it making my body feel? And just as George did, looking at it from a religious perspective and saying, okay, my cells were activated in order for me to expand my frequency in my body. And so over the years, it shifted. The language shifted, the tones. When it first started and I started speaking it, the more natural it became. It was forced out of me a lot of times, almost as if I was releasing dense energy from the crevices in my astral body, in my physical body. I went through a lot of healing with it, and I still am. I don't think as someone who offers tools for healing, you don't have to be fully healed, because We're always healing, we're always growing and learning with our souls. So, but what happened? Okay.
Sorry, we're having a trade-off here. Um, I want to hear more about that. And you have a sample of some musical or frequency sounds that you might like to also offer or show us for a few minutes. So let me know when you'd like to do that and just go on and do it. Thank you. But go ahead with what you're saying.
So, what I was saying with the light language is that what I have found, and through my channeling or downloads from my spirit guide, has said that it's an ancient priestess earth language that was used in temples and circles and healing rites long before words were fixed and were born. And so, it's not meant to be translated from the mind, it's remembered by the body. And so I asked my educator through this sacred sound, when I was learning it through my classes, I said, I'd like to speak this language. And she said, okay, we can record it. They were the notes that I was missing out of my field. So, it may not be that everyone speaks it, only the ones that need to have that activation in their cells to disperse dense trauma that they've been holding on to. And so, so it's really interesting. But what I can do is I record these frequencies. My brother has a recording studio, so I'm really blessed in Orlando, and we go down and we play. So what I can do is I have an earth frequency that I can, healing frequency that I can share, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, so you all can see just what I offer. Let's see if we can get it to... Sometimes it takes a minute off this phone. Well, I thought it would start right up. Here we go.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry that we've had some workmen here today and the dog was barking through most of that. she does that when she hears sounds and noises, but I think it was because of the music, not just the work people. So that was pretty exciting for me. And I didn't mention that you do gongs as well, play gongs as well, which people could certainly have heard in that. And so would you like to say anything more about that? And we're going to have to stop pretty soon. So say anything more that you would love to share with us, please.
All right, thanks, Barbara. So what I was doing with my hands is it's light language, weaving threads of light through my fingers, and that was also activated when my voice with the sacred sound was activated. I work with water. I was asked to work with water. That's why I feel like the wind blew us closer to the springs from the salt water. With that being said, I have a website that is being revamped now. You can go on and look at bodysoundspirit.com. I will have my frequency music for purchase. Massage therapists and the like, just people who are interested in hearing it and receiving the codes that are put together for higher frequency living is one of my passions. And so I'm happy to offer these things. And I'm so grateful that you've asked me to come on and speak with you. I'm in the process of writing a book, my memoir, that will have a lot of stories in them on my spiritual awakening and how New Earth is coming into being. So, anyway.
Yeah, I'll say a couple of things and give you another chance. I've been really interested too in this transition that we're going through with Mother Earth and the cosmos and all of us human beings and other living beings. And I just wanted to note that as well. And I love some of what you're doing because what I found for myself, at least, is that, I was a psychotherapist for 30 years and I loved my work. It was my career. I loved it. And since then, mostly, but even during then, I always participated in different alternative practices, meditation, yoga, all sorts of services or practices that help us embody more of what spirit and the sacred and divine wisdom is talking with us and conversing with us and telling us about the world and ourselves. And so there's that chakra line, as you say, from up above and figuratively and down below. And I do a lot of writing about that kind of thing. And what I'm trying to say is that this last several years of doing more embodiment practice and experiences has really changed my life too. And I wasn't just a heady sort, not an intellectual sort that just did, talk therapy. And I was never like that, but it's really, I'm becoming more mystically connected and cosmically connected. And I know those words sound funny to me, even saying those things, because I grew up in the Episcopal Church, also Donia, with a dad who was a preacher, and it was in Mississippi. And it was a very wonderful religious organization to grow up in, if we have to grow up in any. um, and I think all of the teachings that we've heard throughout time, through history, is all trying, has been all trying to help us get to where you, who has been awakened and is still growing and healing, we all are still growing and healing from whatever awakenings we've had along the stretch of time we've lived in these physical bodies, and it will continue. I do believe in the eternal soul and past lives and future lives, and that time bends. And I'm excited for and hopeful about this next set of collapses that may happen in our systems, patriarchal systems. There may be some collapses and destruction and all sorts of things going on that scare the hell out of all of us. And though sometimes we have to clear space and cleanse before the new growth can come. And so that's my hope. And I do know it's going to be bumpy for a while, and I hope people don't get too freaked out about that. But that's why I think your practices of bringing someone into themselves and experiencing higher frequencies is so good, because if we just live in these dense bodies in human form, uh, we all know we're going to be born, get sick, and die, but there's so much more to that available to us, and the resources around us, and the energies around us, and inside of us. And please say a couple more things, and then we'll end.
All right. Well, yes, I agree with everything that you said. And I think if there was anything that I could put out there for folks to have an easier transition through these dense energies, one would be to, when you wake up in the morning, um, to write. And it's called automatic writing. And so from what I understand, your ego is not activated within about 45 minutes after you wake up. Like, you're just not fully, so your soul consciousness is still maybe in dream time a little bit. I don't know. I'm not a brain scientist, but with the waves, with the brain waves, and so you can just write. Just write. Don't even think about what you're writing. Sometimes you can get messages within that writing, or releasing. It's therapeutic. So that's what I would say. That's one thing I would say, and to listen to frequency music. Go to sound baths. Go to sound baths. Our nervous systems are so jacked up from the phones, from just being out in a lot of stuff, a lot of gunk. But we live in a beautiful world, and it's important to realize that grounding within the forest, and listening to the birds, and working out in the yard, and gardening with the earth, or at the beach, and experiencing the elements. So thank you for having me. Be well.
Oh, it may not have been echoing this time. Thank you so much, Donia. I totally agree with you. The elements, the breezes, the birds, there's all around us so much beauty, tactily, auditorily, visually, and inside ourselves. And thank you for sharing what you do. And I will put in the notes below this how you can contact Donia. I appreciate your being here, and I hope to see you somewhat soon. And I will be booking a session.
Wonderful. Remember, we are divine and holy beings. Love you, Barbara.